Just by a show of hands real quick, anybody know what resilience is or what it means? That's it? Oh, come on. Let's try that again. Anybody in here know what the hell resilience is? There we go. All right, so that's the chat that I'm going to do today. But to qualify, I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. So I'm a military brat, and my father got deployed all over this country, or all over the world. And so growing up, I went from being born in Tennessee to the Virgin Islands, Oceanside, California, found myself in Arizona where the heat is just too damn hot. And then I'm back here about 6 years ago. And when I came here 6 years ago, I left my job in corporate America where I was making, at an early age, upwards of 6 figures a year. And at 23, 24 years old, that's pretty good money. I had a house, boat, cars, and all that jazz. And then I had the brilliant idea of becoming an entrepreneur, right? Because that's brilliant, right? You leave stable income to go and wander off into a space of the unknown. And so for my first 3 years as an entrepreneur, I slept on couches, defaulted on practically every single bill I had, went into bankruptcy, had things taken from me because I was late on payments, borrowed money from friends that only until recently I just paid back, and my first 2 companies didn't even get off the paper. The first idea I had, it was just too grandiose. No one wanted to fund it. The second one, I actually got lucky. Wrote a proposal, got $500,000 in the bank with my business partner at that time. 1 year later, I left that company to start what you hear of Spare today, which is my most successful company to date. And what I mean by success, within the next year, I get to retire. We're going through an acquisition at this particular time. And so I've gone through that journey. And the reason why I'm standing here today is because I have just a little bit to say, at least I think, in my own opinion, about what it means to be resilient and as an entrepreneur, especially here in Los Angeles. So for those of you that did not raise your hand, here's the Oxford Dictionary definition of resilience. Pretty simple, right? But for those of you that are your eyes are glazing over, you're kind of tired, it's late in the afternoon, I get it. So why don't we just sum it up into a couple words for you? Yeah? It's tweetable, right? Everybody gets that. Oh, and I probably should have prefaced this. There probably will be vulgar language at some point in time in this, but let's see here. So what I want to start with is putting all the nuances aside, what it really truly means to give zero. As an entrepreneur, stuff's going to happen. And many of you today, you already know this. This has happened to you already. And it's looking at the things that are in front of you and not letting them take away your power in what it is that you're trying to build. Resilience at the core of being an entrepreneur, that's the defining factor between someone who makes it and someone who does not. And whether or not that time frame takes you a day, a month, or 5 years down the road, what you need or should be doing in this particular process is see those obstacles for what they are. And now, being an entrepreneur is a decision that you make. It's a choice that you commit to when you wake up that morning. And when you choose to be an entrepreneur, you're choosing to remove your safety net, to remove the stable hours at the end of the day, that dependable paycheck. And what you're saying is you're banking on yourself. You're telling the world, your friends, your family, used to be colleagues, that you would rather bank on your own self-worth and ability and capability to get to where you want to be. And so those things that are going to come up, they're going to test you, they're going to prime you. And many of you already know this. I'm kind of speaking to the choir already. There might already be a Zuckerberg in the room today, the next Zuckerberg in the room today. But you know this. And whether you're male, female, you're a minority, whatever your disadvantage may be, at the end of the day, seeing those obstacles for what they are and not allowing them to take away your power as an entrepreneur. See them as a lesson. See them as a touching point on your journey, as a speed bump rather than a wall. So for those of you that have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, there is a lovely little book out there that teaches you how to harness the art of this. All right? And at the end of the day, the information that comes from this book can be summed up. There we go. Hold on. There we go. It gives you strategy. It gives you a process by which you can go about fulfilling your promise and your duty as an entrepreneur. Being methodical about how you're going down that road towards your vision. Whether you're building the next internet or the next Uber, Facebook, whatever it may be, right? Maybe you're doing something in manufacturing. Maybe you want to be the next Amazon, right? But when you take a look at this whole idea of being resilient and not really caring, you've got to go about it with some kind of tact. Usually when I practice this at home, usually this is the part where I get a little emotional because my journey through this was rough. I lost friends, I lost family, and I lost loved ones. And you would think that becoming an entrepreneur would be something that everyone would applaud. Right? You'd think that you go to your friends and your family and they're the first ones to pat you on the back. Maybe not. Maybe they're the first ones that don't really understand what the hell it is that you're doing. And the person that is standing in front of them, you're an enigma. Now, you try to tell your parents who've worked 9-to-5 jobs for their entire life that you want to go out and do it on your own, and their eyes glaze over. God, doesn't that feel good? See, the thing is, as an entrepreneur, it is your responsibility to earn the light in their eyes again. And you do that every single day by getting up, dedicating yourself to what it is that you're going after, and showing them that you can do it. Because at first, those wild, whimsical dreams of being the next whoever it is, people are like, okay, we'll see you back here on the line in a few months, right, when you give up. And that's what resilience is about. It's about not giving up. But if you can learn anything from this process, or from my talk today, it's these things here. Look at your process. Become practiced, precise, simplistic, but methodical in what you're doing as an entrepreneur. That's how you earn their respect, their support. Everybody likes a plan. And you should have a plan. Always, especially as an entrepreneur. Now, sometimes, some of you sitting in here, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where the hell to go. Like, there are books and all of this stuff, but my path may just be too unique to follow their path, their plan. So what you do for yourself is you figure out those little tiny milestones along the way, the ones where when you wake up in the morning, you can say, I did this yesterday. And that's one small step. So maybe it was, hey, I want to build the next Uber, but today's mission, today's goal is I'm going to get one driver. That doesn't seem too hard, right? Doesn't seem too difficult. And when those big speed bumps come up, you keep your focus on those little bitty steps, along the way, and you use those every single day to motivate you. We always want to get caught up in the big picture, in the big goal, right? Because that's easy to do. When someone says, hey, how successful do you want to be? You go, I want to be the #1 startup in the world. Or I want to have the #1 of this. I want 1 million users. Right? We all get caught up on that. Just a quick show of hands. Who wants the big house? That's it? Nobody else wants a big house? How about lots of cars? Right? How about just to pay your bills on time? I figured I'd get more hands. So we all have these goals, But the point is sometimes you don't have to say, I want the number one startup in order just to say that's how I reach my goal. Sometimes it's, I want to get one client today. And then maybe tomorrow I'll get 2 clients. And maybe the next day, maybe I'll get 3, maybe I'll get 2. But take it in small chunks and build that path ahead for yourself. Sometimes do not get caught up in the long-term vision, because sometimes that is the biggest roadblock for you. Sometimes seeing yourself up on this massive pedestal, but not seeing the steps to get there, is the thing that holds you back. One step at a time. So there was in that book, there's a blogger. He went ahead and he read the book, and this was his feedback. This is what he got from that lovely piece of work. And if you look at those words that are in bold, these ones here, fears, faults, uncertainties, these are the ones that we as entrepreneurs have the most trouble with. Right? Because sometimes we don't know what our path is, and being innovative requires us not to know. And sometimes we'll never know until we're tested. And it's when we're tested and how we respond to when we're tested is what determines our resilience. This factor here, the resilience, there's innovation, there's being thoughtful, there's all those other things that are comprised in the process of being an entrepreneur. But it's by far this one, I think, is one of the most important. Because without resilience, you can't see an obstacle, a competitor, a hindrance, a late bill, a bankruptcy, bad credit, whatever it may be. You can't see those things and move past them without this. And just real quick, I want to touch on this. So earlier, we all had those. I mentioned, we want the big house and the cars and to pay our bills and things like that. One thing that I will tell you that I've learned the hard way is you've got to fall in love with building your business, and that is every bit of it. That is the late nights. That is the competitors that steal your idea. That is the employee that looks at you and says, hey, I like what you're doing, but I can do it better, so I'll take it somewhere else, right? You have to look at those and you have to love the process. Why? Because that's how you build your business. And if you look at those things, you smile and you understand that that's what makes you as an entrepreneur, you'll be doing all right. So there's one thing, the last thing I want to leave you with is this image here. So when I was searching for slides, I was like, okay, what is the best way to convey resilience? A stalwartness, steadfastness. And it was this. That rock in this photo, it has purpose. It has method. It has a reason for being there. It's being. And so, being an entrepreneur, dealing with all the stuff that comes at you is pretty much like those waves. And you have to figure out in your journey whether or not you're going to allow those waves to continue to chip away at you and take big pieces of you, or if you're just going to stand there in the flow, resilient about who you are. And resilience is more about you as an individual than it is about your idea, about your company, about your employees. It's you. So I would say, as you build your companies, as you go back and you work on your ideas and you work on yourself, and you go down that path of building that great whatever it is, do some checking on yourself and check in with yourself and see if you're handling your obstacles the best way you should be, to see if you're allowing your obstacles to define how you feel that day, to define what decisions you will or will not make. Whether or not your obstacles are changing your course or you're just simply reacting and you're being nimble and you're moving. This is about taking back your power. Resilience is power. Thank you.